Welcome in everyone to the second video in my 12-part rookie profile series for 2023. Today we're going to be talking about my rookie 1.02 in one quarterback leagues and my 1.05 in superflex leagues, Alabama running back Jahmyr Gibbs. Looking at Gibbs' college career, he began his career at Georgia Tech in 2020 where he rushed for 460 yards and 4 touchdowns as a freshman in a shortened 7-game season due to COVID. He did lead Georgia Tech's backfield though in rush attempts, immediately splitting time with a third-year Jordan Mason, and similarly enough to Bijan Robinson, lost a lot of work to his mobile quarterback who actually led the Yellow Jackets in carries that year with 120. But Gibbs also was second on the team in receiving as a freshman with 24 receptions, 303 yards, and 3 touchdowns, immediately showcasing his elite receiving abilities in year one. In 2021, as a sophomore, Gibbs took the next step forward, this time rushing for 750 yards and 4 touchdowns on 143 carries, while also adding almost 500 yards and 2 touchdowns on 36 receptions through the air. This was Gibbs' breakout season, even though statistically it may not seem like it, but Gibbs was the focal point of a really bad 3-9 Georgia Tech team. He then decided to enter the transfer portal, landed at Alabama to replace Brian Robinson, a decision that I think ultimately paid off tremendously for his future because as a junior at Alabama, Gibbs posted career numbers with 926 yards and 7 touchdowns on the ground and an additional 444 yards and 3 touchdowns on 44 receptions. He was again the focal point of his offense. It was just accentuated because he was now at Alabama, not at Georgia Tech. So let's move into the analytics and let me remind you of my process for evaluating running back prospects. I utilize a marker system of 10 baselines that I want players to hit, and those baselines came from what previously successful NFL running backs had when they came out of college. If you want a little bit more breakdown of the markers and why I use them and how I got to them, check out my video on Bijan Robinson, and for reference, Bijan is going to hit on all 10 of these markers, just the 4th running back since 2001 to do that. Before continuing though, I wanted to mention that if you like this content and want to support what we're doing on this channel, please consider joining our YouTube memberships where you will gain access to additional videos every single month, including a bank of 7 videos that you can watch already. Plus, we will be starting exclusive live streams when we have enough members, and I just posted a link to a Google Sheet that houses all of the data that I'm looking at for my marker system, everything that you want for running backs and wide receivers. It's all in that Google Sheet. So if you want access to all of that, check out the link in the description down below, join the bonus content tier, and thank you guys for checking it out. But taking a look at Jahmyr Gibbs through this lens, he is currently sitting at 5 out of 10 markers, soon to be 6 when he is drafted in the 1st or 2nd round. Now that's not really a great place to be, but it's not terrible either, and actually ranks 10th in this entire class as a whole, but more like 5th among players who are actually going to be drafted in the first couple rounds, which is really the biggest signal for NFL and fantasy success. But some of you out there are probably thinking, well, if he ranks 5th in this system among the running backs that we actually care about, why is he my RB2? And that's a fair question. So let's break down his markers. The 5 markers that he hits on right now are 1,000 total yards as a freshman or sophomore, which he hit at Georgia Tech in 2021, a best season of 25 or more receptions, which he actually hit twice at Georgia Tech and then again at Alabama, a season with 20 fantasy points per game or more, which he hit last year, 40 time, and speed score from that 40 time. And like I said, I expect him to go in the first 2 rounds, so that will be marker number 6 that he will have hit out of 10. So the 4 that he doesn't hit right now are burst score because he didn't do the broad jump at the combine, and with his 33.5-inch vertical, it's highly unlikely that he would break 120 anyway, unless he posted the 2nd best broad jump in the entire class this year. So it's not impossible, it's just unlikely, so we're going to count that out. He also misses on career yards per carry, where he averaged 5.6 and we're looking for 6.0, but that's the least vital marker of the 10 that I look at, and it's one that's not really a detriment if you are missing that. So that is what it is. And then the final 2 that he's missing are because of his size, weight and BMI, both of which he just barely misses on. Weight, I'm looking for 200 pounds. He came in at 199. BMI, I want 30, and he came in at 29.4. Had he just come in at 5'9", 203 instead of 5'9", 199, he would have hit on both of those markers and would be sitting at 7 out of 10 instead of 5 out of 10, which would vault him actually to the RB2 in his class in my marker system. I also want to lean on his film for why I rank him at RB2 as well. I mean, just watching him, it's mesmerizing. I think it's very obvious that he's a more talented player than everybody else in this class except Bijan Robinson. Even when you watch him at Georgia Tech, he's the same player he was then as he was at Alabama last year. It's just Alabama, again, accentuated every part of his game that he already had. And I think that's going to be the biggest piece of the puzzle for Gibbs in the NFL is where does he land that will actually accentuate his talents and maximize his skill sets. I have no issues whatsoever with his size. I mean, LaShawn McCoy was 5'10", 198. Ray Rice was 5'8", 199. Devontae Freeman was 5'8", 206. Jamal Charles, 5'11", 200. Christian McCaffrey, 5'11", 202. Size is only an issue if the NFL tells us that it's an issue by dropping him to the 3rd or maybe in the 4th round. But if he's drafted in the 1st round or really even in the 2nd round more realistically, then that's not going to be an issue whatsoever. And that's all we need to know about how the NFL views him at his size. But going back to landing spot, where do we actually want Jahmyr Gibbs to go that will use him like a Jamal Charles, a LaShawn McCoy, Christian McCaffrey? To me, there are a handful of places that I would love to see him go. And number one, the LA Chargers. There's all this talk right now about how Austin Eckler wants to stay there, but he also wants paid and is reportedly relentlessly pursuing opportunities for a better deal. But even if Eckler is still there in 2023, he is a free agent after that, so they could just transition right into Jahmyr Gibbs for the exact same role in this Chargers offense, which has been shown to be fantastic for fantasy. Number two, the Miami Dolphins. And I know that they just re-signed Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert, but neither contracts were actually starter money. And if they do draft Gibbs, he will be the guy. We just saw what Christian McCaffrey can do in a Kyle Shanahan offense last year. So imagine Jahmyr Gibbs in a similar offense without the pressure of defenses honing in on him because of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. He could realistically rush for 1,000 yards on under 200 carries and catch 60 passes in Miami. Make it happen, Chris Greer. And number three, we have the Houston Texans. And I get it. Why would they draft Jahmyr Gibbs when they already have Dameon Pierce? That's terrible franchise building. I get it. But there's a very real possibility from the Houston Texans perspective that they can create Alabama 2.0 here by drafting Bryce Young at 1.02 and then Jahmyr Gibbs at 2.02. And they also get John Mechie back too. This could be a Travis Etienne, James Robinson situation all over again, and it would just be a matter of time before Jahmyr Gibbs overtook Dameon Pierce in that offense, just hopefully without Gibbs having to miss an entire season from injury. And then number four, and also kind of number five, the Saints, because why not give the team who made Alvin Kamara a younger, cheaper version of Alvin Kamara? The Saints are moving towards youth. They need to shed some cap space, and they can do that by effectively replacing Kamara with Jahmyr Gibbs in their offense after the 2023 season when they can cut him for a little bit of dead cap saved. Honorable mention here, though, maybe he goes to Denver to be with Sean Payton because he may be more of a reason why Kamara is Kamara than the Saints organization as a whole. So if he lands in Denver with Sean Payton, he already utilizes and knows that skill set very, very well, and he could be a nice 1A or 1B with Javonte Williams when Javonte gets healthy. And there are a lot of other teams out there that he could land on that would be good for fantasy, like the Rams, the Cardinals, the Chiefs, the Vikings if they cut Dalvin Cook. All those teams could also use a long-term solution at running back, and Gibbs could fill that void nicely and, like I said, be very good for us for fantasy. I don't really see a realistic scenario where Jahmyr Gibbs isn't my RB2 post-draft, but I could see situations where he's not my 1.02 in one quarterback leagues or my 105 in superflex leagues, and my wide receiver one bumps Jahmyr Gibbs in the overall rankings. But as it stands right now, and should be still after the draft, Jahmyr Gibbs is my 2023 rookie RB2. And if you happen to have found this video first and you missed my profile on Bijan Robinson and my breakdown on why he is literally a perfect prospect, then you can watch that video right up here.